guys, welcome back. So it's raining, can't go outside. I could shave today, but no, I don't really want to. I'm sure not going to talk about how much I lost on GameStop. I know, let's make a 3D printing video. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish feeding the baby, and then we'll get started on that. So first up, I'm cleaning up my desk. No big video of this, I'm just going to clean it because it's nasty. Now the crux of this video, I broke my extruder, I over tightened it. So we're upgrading with the Creality metal upgrade kit. And then we'll do a part 2 video where I test out some new filament. Alright, my desk is cleaned up and a little better. This is just a temporary setup. Eventually I'm going to have a better desk. One of these years I'm going to work on that. So let's move on to my next project. As I pointed out in the beginning, my extruder is cracked right here. I made a rookie mistake. I over tightened this guy and I cracked it. Now I've still been printing. I don't know that it's been a huge issue, but I decided to go ahead and replace it. So this is what I bought. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, why didn't you go ahead and upgrade to a dual gear extruder? I'll be honest, I started researching it. I got overwhelmed with all the choices. BMG clones, Winsun, or however you pronounce it, etc., etc., etc. So for now, I just went with metal from Creality to replace what I had and decide where to go from there. Now, the kit I bought came with the metal, I don't know what you want to call that, housing, plate, whatever, a new handle, and then all this stuff. I don't think I need any of this except maybe those two, because I think I'm going to use my originals for all of that, and I'll just keep this stuff for spares, I think. So before we get started, I'm going to do a couple of things. One, I'm going to tell you that it's just me and my 5-month-old today, so you might hear him in the background from time to time, and I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing to, you know, be a dad, stuff like that. But working around electricity, you know, I mean, there's a motor here. I don't know that I'm going to screw anything up, but just to be on the safe side, let's go ahead and unplug and depower everything, because I sure don't want to risk messing something up. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to get set to take this guy apart. The other note I've got is I have done absolutely no research on this at all. So we're just going to kind of do this as we go along and figure it out. As I'm getting started, I just had a horrible thought. I sure would hate to drop something on this glass and break it. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. That seems prudent. Okay, so to make a beautiful video, I sure do wish I could time-lapse me taking this thing apart, but I can't find my camera tripod. So you're kind of out of luck. Anyway, I'm going to strip it down. I'm going to take this off and take all these bits apart and then figure out what I need to do and pray I don't screw something up. Hey, you know what would be really helpful before you do this? Remove the filament. Oops. So I've powered the printer back up so I can heat up the hot end so I can take the filament out. All right, so I've gone ahead and propped up my bar here because it keeps going down as I'm messing with it. So I propped that. And one of the things that I've discovered here is that I can't get that screw out because of the screw for the spring. So it looks like I'm going to have to take that off. So I'm looking at my new plate versus my old plate. And I realize that I need to pause and think about this just a minute. You want to come talk on video, buddy? So I've already removed the screw that's here and here. And it looks like I can get to this screw really easily. However, the little lever on the spring is blocking this one. So it looks to me like I'm going to have to take that lever off in order to get to that screw. I also noticed that he's different than the other three, so I need to keep him separate. And the other thing is it looks to me like when I do that, am I going to release the motor? Is that what's happening here? Okay, so we're going to have to look at that. I've unplugged my motor, and I'll just pay attention, because I'm thinking that this motor might end up having to come off to do that. I don't really know. I guess we're going to find out. Okay, so I was right. When I let all of those screws off, the motor came off. So be prepared for that if you're attempting to do the same thing. So there's my motor, and we're just going to set that aside for the moment. Here are all of the old pieces, right? And again, oh, okay. So that's what I cracked because I over tightened it. That sucks. Now this printer is only about a month old, so I don't really see the need to replace all of that stuff. I think probably I'm going to reuse that and keep the others that came with the new kit as spares. That seems prudent at this point. But it does look like I'm going to have to, do I need those brass inserts? Because they're not in the new kit. Maybe because this is metal, it doesn't need them. I think I will do a little research and look that up before I go further. However, as I mentioned, Mama's at work, and it's just me and the 5-month-old. The other boys are in school. And so I'm going to pause here for a little bit, change his diaper, and play with him. And we'll pick this up after a while. All right, so the baby's asleep, and I'm looking a little farther at this. So I had a coupler that screwed into this brass insert here, which is where the filament comes out. And then I've got this brass insert over here, which is where the arm with the spring goes. And I'm looking at this one, which is my new metal one. And what I'm seeing is that this is threaded, my finger's in the way. This is threaded for the screw that holds the spring in. This is not. And I found this little guy that looks like he goes in there. But I'm a little confused right now. Before I press that in, I want to make sure that's what I do. This kit did not come with any instructions. So I'm going to hop online and make sure that's right before I push that in. But it looks to me like I'm going to push that in and my filament goes into that and I don't have a coupler anymore, I guess. I'm going to look that up. All right, so I just did a little research, and in fact, this little guy press fits into here, and you don't use a coupler anymore. Instead, your Bowden tube just shoves into it, and then you put your little blue clip on to secure it. I don't know if that's better or worse, but okay, we'll go with that. Before I do any of this, though, I've also decided the grease that originally came on this guy is getting gunked up a lot of places. And frankly, I think it's time to do something about that. So I just went out in my garage and I was going to put something else on here, like a PTEF spray lubricant or something, or even sewing machine oil. I can't find any at the moment, so I'm going to add that to my shopping list. So in the moment, instead, I think what I'm going to do is use a lint-free cloth, if you will, to kind of spread that back out until I can get a proper lubricant to clean it and redo it. Here's my lint-free cloth. This is something I learned from my days playing with RC cars. Oh, I have 2 of them. Coffee filter. I'll cut a little square of this and use this to kind of clean that guy off. Coffee filters are lint-free. You can throw them away. They're great for working with grease. I'm starting to reassemble this guy. So the kit came with lots of new parts. However, I don't see anything wrong with any of my old parts, so I'm reusing some of it, like the little, I guess that's an idler gear right there. So I took it off the old one and I put it back on the new one. And while I was doing that, I noticed that the old arm has, whatever you want to call that little stop. So the spring sits in, right? Let's not loose the spring. The new one doesn't, and the kit doesn't have any instructions, so I'm over here looking, and I noticed that I've got some extra screws, so I'm betting that those are going to replace that little plastic nub, so we're going to go with that. Originally, I had gone ahead and put my spring assembly on right here, but I'm having a really hard time getting that screw lined up to go back into the plate here. So let's back up a little bit. The first thing I did was I put the flat screw back on to hold the motor so it won't go anywhere. Now I've left it loose so I can adjust the motor. And I'm going to take my idler arm with this screw backed out and see if I can't get that lined up and started, and then I'll put the spring back on. All right, that worked. So I ran this screw all the way out and I moved that spring out of the way. I was able to get this guy lined up. Now I've still got him a little loose. Then I squished the squished the spring. I've got it lined back up. I'm going to go ahead and run that all the way in for the moment so that screws out of my way. Then I'll put this one and this one back in and tighten this guy up so everybody's good and snug and firm. Alrighty, so I got all excited and I put a piece of filament through and I lined up my hole and I started tightening stuff up and I realized, wait, this screw isn't adjusting the spring. And then I started looking at my pieces, and again, I reused some of my originals, so I've got extras, but there's this little guy. I can't even pick him up. Come here, come here, come here. This little guy. What on earth is this guy? Well, I hopped online because this kit does not have any instructions. Turns out that this is going to go in the spring right there for this screw to ride into. So I'm going to have to back that screw out, put that little collar in there, and screw it all back together. Luckily, I don't think I'm going to have to disassemble everything. Hey, look what I found. The original had one too. I just didn't notice. Apparently it fell off when I was disassembling and I didn't catch it till right now. That's kind of funny. All right, boys, steak is back on the menu. So I got that little collar or sleeve or whatever it is and the spring, pushed him back in there, and now I'm tightening this screw up and the baby woke up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go play with the baby some, but off camera, let's see, let's just go ahead and run that down just a little bit for now. And this is a scrap piece of filament that I've got stuck in here. So I'm going to run it through to make sure that this hole and this hole are aligned. And then I'll tighten this screw down. And we'll see if that's the right way to do this. All right, well, I kind of got distracted because the baby woke up and I fed him and played with him some. And I don't remember where I left off. So I've put that little sleeve or collar or whatever it is back in here, tightened this guy up. I've used a scrap piece of filament to kind of line everything up, and I think I'm close. We'll find out in a minute. So I think that's it. The next step should be connecting this guy back up. And then, well, I should have taken that off already, and I didn't. But removing that coupler, because I don't need it anymore. Putting the Bowden tube in there, we should be ready to go. And then I'll calibrate my E-steps again, I think. All right, so I'm going to take another step back. I have run in my filament, right, under my little guide there. Seems like I got that lined up pretty decently. So I've come through. I've cut it flush here. And I'm going to do a couple of things here. One, I want to make sure my tension here is correct. I don't want all kinds of nasty teeth marks in the filament as it comes through because it could weaken it and cause extrusion problems. But it needs to be tight enough that it runs the filament, right? So I'm going to check that. And how I'm going to do that at the moment, I'm going to leave my Bowden tube off. Bowden, how do you pronounce that? Doesn't matter. So, and I'm going to tell the extruder to shoot out 100 millimeters. While I'm doing that, I'm also going to take my calipers and I'll measure it and I'll make sure that the E-steps are about where they need to be. So we're going to come over here. You can see I've already got my hot end up to 185 degrees. If you don't do that, it won't let you extrude, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I've got Octopi, but I don't have it, or Octoprint. I don't have it set up or hooked up right now. So I'm just going to do this here from the screen. And we're going to go to our, no, that's my old adjustment. That's not what I want, is it? Prepare is what we want. Move. Extruder. Let's dial that all the way up to 100. All right. So what's going to happen now is it's going to extrude out, theoretically, 100 millimeters. Okay, so I'm going to have to do this off camera because I don't have enough hands. But I'm going to take my calipers, I'm going to measure that, and I'm going to see if it's 100 millimeters or not, and if it's not, adjust my E-steps, right? However, I also want to come here and feel my filament. I don't know if it picks up on camera, but I've got some pretty good teeth marks here. So if I can find the right Allen key, let's go ahead and back this guy off a little bit. And basically I'm just going to keep doing this until I feel like this guy is correct and that I'm consistently getting 100 millimeters extruded. I'm not going to go through that 8 million times because y'all get bored with that. Alrighty, I'm back. The baby is singing in the background and he's happy, so we're going to continue for the moment. So I extruded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and these are the results that I got. So here's the thing. These 4 are all pretty consistent. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that one right there. All right, so I threw out this one because it's an aberration, right? So in my napkin math, I've got these 4 results. I just, added them up, divided by 4. My average is 97.135. So I am currently under extruding. The machine thinks it's putting out 100 millimeters. It's actually putting out 97 millimeters, right? There are plenty of guides online to go find and calculate this. So basically what we're going to do here, my current... we got to go look in my machine. So stock, these guys generally come set at 93 millimeters. Now I've already done this once before with the original extruder, and I had 94.6. Okay, so back of the napkin math, I'm currently set in my machine at 94.6, right? And what we're wanting to extrude is 100 millimeters. What we're actually extruding is 97.1. I'm under extruding. So we take 100 and divide it by 97.1, and then we multiply that by 94.06, and that should give me my new value to enter into my EEPROM, which is 97.4. So what we'll do now is we'll enter that into the machine, and then I'll extrude, and we'll see if that's at 100 millimeters. All right, let's go in here. Let's go to control, motion, steps per millimeter. There's our old value. Our new value should be 97.4. Back. Let's go ahead and store that. Okay. And then let's extrude it and see if it worked. So it worked. I had video, but somehow messed it up. Anyway, all that happened was it extruded out. I measured it. It was, in fact, 100 millimeters. So we're great. Let's move on. So I'm looking at this, and I probably should cut that and trim it. However, I'm going to be stupid, and I'm not going to right now. I kind of dig this new design because there's no coupler here. You push that guy in. And then you take your little blue clip and you put it on there. And he's in, baby. That's cool. Okay, so let's talk about things that I like and don't like. I haven't run it yet, but that's number one that I like. I think that's probably pretty cool because I probably am going to need to trim up that Bowden tube at some point, right? So it's going to be really easy to take care of that. I like the metal, although you can see I scratched it there a little bit. That's kind of a bummer. One of the things I don't like is the old unit had a little clip here for the wires, right? And that doesn't exist anymore. So I'll have to go on Thingiverse and see if somebody's found a solution for that that I like, or design my own. In fact, if you guys have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below, because I really would like that tied back in. And that finishes up my upgrading of my extruder and replacing the broken part. Originally, I was going to go ahead and add the filament section to this video, but we're getting pretty long. I think we'll go ahead and end it here today, and I'll upload a part 2 where I'm testing out that new purple filament because it's pretty cool. So look for that in the next day or two.